Have you ever heard the phrase, "Religion is the opiate of the masses"? I wouldn't be surprised if you have. It's one of the most famous quotes from the founding of the social sciences, and has become a go-to one-liner in arguments about religion. But once a phrase becomes famous, it's often used by people who've heard it just secondhand, and we forget to go back to what it really means, and whether it's even true. What did Karl Marx mean when he said it? Does it apply today? Do we have any evidence that religion really is the opiate of the masses? In the process of exploring these questions, I'm also going to consider others that, on the surface, might not seem related, but in fact are. How does inequality persist if it advantages the few and disadvantages the many? Why are women just as likely, if not more likely, to oppose a woman's right to choose abortion than are men in the United States? I'm a sociologist by training. When I ask a question, I want to be precise about its meaning and see if the data actually support it. Here's the quote in context. Religious suffering is, at one and the same time, the expression of real suffering and a protest against real suffering. Religion is the sigh of the oppressed creature, the heart of a heartless world, and the soul of soulless conditions. It is the opium of the people. Hearing the whole of Marx's quote highlights his concern with suffering. Marx was preoccupied with the struggles and hardships people face in life. It also highlights opium as relief from suffering. Today, when we hear the word opiate, we think of the opioid epidemic. We definitely don't think of it as a treatment that promotes recovery. At best, we might think it's okay for surgery or hospice. But in Marx's day, opiates were seen as having the potential to help treat people, and the perspectives people held on it were quite different than today, not unlike how Coca-Cola got its name. The original recipe included cocaine instead of caffeine. There were two key claims to Marx's argument. One, religion appeals to and provides comfort for the masses, and two, suppresses political action. Let's break the argument down into stages. First, religion appeals to the disenfranchised. Second, religion helps them by offering a way to alleviate their suffering. And third, it conceals the root causes of that suffering and the genuine cure. In Marx's view, revolution. In short, according to Marx, religion was the drug of the masses that keeps them down and in their place. Religion provides comfort, but is an ephemeral cure that distracts the masses from genuine political action to improve their plight. What are we to make of such a claim? Many early social theorists, Marx included, sometimes made overly broad claims. If we really want to evaluate the truth of his claim, we need to first be more specific and then put it to the test. Rather than making sweeping statements about religion across time and space, we want to know if what Marx said is true for people in varied contexts. In trying to apply Marx's theory today, we run into a problem. Is it even true? Are religious people really less involved in politics because religion distracts them? A few specific groups do stay out of politics. For example, the Amish and Jehovah's Witnesses. But for the most part, religious people are often just as, if not more, involved in politics. In fact, instead of religion just being an opiate dulling the senses of the masses, we might want to think about religion as a combination drug, an opiate for comfort and an amphetamine for action, more like washing down laudanum with original Coca-Cola. This does not mean that the overarching claim about religion providing comfort and making people less likely to act is wrong. It could be that religion, like cocaine, is not a neutral action enhancer. It could be that religion gets people to rise up, not on behalf of something like class consciousness, but instead their religious beliefs. It then operates as a megaphone for particular religious values and identities that often lead people to protest against, rather than for, gender and sexual minorities, immigrants, and those seeking medical care at Planned Parenthood. While Marx was preoccupied with economic inequality, the argument can apply to social inequalities as well. For example, W.E.B. Du Bois made similar arguments about religion providing comfort and also suppressing action, extending the argument to race. Angela Davis extended the argument to class, race, and gender. Finally, if matters weren't complicated enough already, we also need to talk about particular religions. Religious beliefs, values, and identities are not universal, but vary by type, time, and place. Marx was speaking in a particular context where Christianity was dominant, but in investigating Marx's claim, we need to be specific about what type of religion we're talking about and not assume that they all have the same impact. So, let's start applying the theory to today's world. In my work, I show that particular religions are not making people less politically active today, but actually more so. However, the way they are becoming more political isn't in the way Marx might have hoped. Instead of rallying around their social class and looking for concrete solutions to inequality, people are instead rallying around politicized religious beliefs, values, and identities. And instead of organizing and protesting against the exploitation of workers, they're more likely to be protesting abortion, gay rights, and immigration. Let's first consider religion in the United States today and then around the world. Religion has become increasingly politicized in the United States, and not in a way that's going to lead to a workers' revolution anytime soon. That isn't the case across all places and times. In fact, Marxist liberation theology, best known in Latin America, illustrates the wide range of ways religion can be politicized. But in the United States, and places where religion is more likely to limit than promote a move toward equality, perhaps the link between religion and political ideology can help explain some surprising real-world patterns. For example, if most people in the US are disadvantaged in one way or another, wouldn't we expect to see broad and strong opposition to inequality? Also, how is it possible that an openly sexist man could run against a woman in a democratic election and get enough votes from women to win? Or how is it that women would be more opposed to a woman's right to choose abortion than men? Or that racial minorities often have less supportive views toward sexual minorities? Perhaps religion can help explain what's going on here. We can explore these questions and the broader issue of whether religion is the opiate of the masses using data from multiple decades of the U.S. General Social Survey. These data help us uncover whether structurally disadvantaged groups get more comfort from religion and whether religion alters their politics. In other words, is religion a comfort to people who are less well off in society? And does it make them comparatively less likely to act in ways that combat oppression? In terms of finding comfort in religion, clear patterns emerge. Women receive more comfort from religion than men. Black and Hispanic Americans receive more comfort than white Americans. And those with lower incomes receive more comfort than those with higher incomes. Based on these facts, it's unsurprising to note that structurally disadvantaged groups tend to be more religious than their more privileged counterparts. And the greater comfort they receive from religion and spirituality can help explain why. So far, so good for Marx. But does being religious also suppress progressive politics? Such groups tend to be more liberal, which might suggest they lean toward progressive, if not revolutionary politics. But interestingly, on certain issues, disadvantaged groups are just as, if not more, conservative. For example, depending on what questions you ask, men are often just as likely, if not more so, to support a woman's right to choose abortion than are women in the United States. Can religion help explain this and other paradoxes? Yes. On issues like abortion, where religion is a strong predictor of people's politics, it can. For example, my research shows that if women were not more religious than men, and if religion and abortion attitudes weren't so closely related, women would be significantly more likely than men to support abortion in the United States. In fact, religion is arguably the key factor explaining why women, racial and ethnic minorities, and lower-income Americans are liberal on many things, but on key social issues related to morality and religion specifically tend to be conservative. In short, religiosity suppresses liberal politics among disadvantaged groups, especially on issues relevant to religious beliefs and identities. Our focus has been on applying the argument to the US, but it's just one place among many. By exploring global data with other scholars, we've found that the patterns in the United States typically generalize to other Christian-majority countries, but different patterns arise in other religious contexts. For example, in Muslim countries, men can be just as, if not more, religious than women, and religion ends up amplifying rather than suppressing gender gaps in abortion attitudes. Accordingly, around the world, Muslim women have comparatively stronger support for abortion in relation to Muslim men than Christian women do in relation to Christian men. In Marx's view, being religious would make you less involved in politics. But my research paints a different picture. Religions are not all the same. Each has different beliefs and values. The specific beliefs of a religion influence what people care about, such as abortion. Religion can strengthen people's political commitments in particular ways, not just make them less political. Circling back to our primary question, is religion the opiate of the masses? Let's take stock of what we've discovered. In the contemporary United States and in many other countries around the world, religion appeals to the disadvantaged. But religion doesn't distract people from caring about politics. It simply makes them care about different things than what Marx thought they should care about. Religion offers comfort, but can end up legitimizing inequality by getting people to care about other issues instead. So, while Marx was right, people do find comfort in religion, and religion can suppress progressive political action, he was wrong about the specifics of how exactly religion impacts politics. Religion can make people more, rather than less, politically active. But Marx was definitely right to think religion matters, and right to see that it deserves attention so that we can understand the powerful role it plays in the relationship between inequality and politics today. Thank you.